Could you please point out a few of the glaring inadequacies of the translation of the Quran that you came across?
At first, I want to explain you that if I have suggested to revise several translations from the Quran, it is only about a very small number of verses. That is to say, in my book, The Bible, the Quran, and Science, I have quoted in the complete edition, not the edition that you have in the United States. I have written an index of the quotation from the Quran, and there is a little bit more than 150 verses only. The verses which might be connected with science, and not at all the verses having only an aim of religious teaching, not at all. So that it is a very small number of verses concerning science, but they are of the utmost importance. And I want to give you an example. I see before me a translation which I know perfectly well by Marmaduke Pickthall. Since a long time, I used, for my studies of the Quran, translation in French and also translation in English. I used Yusuf Ali, which is a wonderful translation. I used in English also Marmaduke Pickthall. But I think that like you, I imagine you all think that it is an excellent translation, but concerning a small number of verses, I cannot accept the translation of Marmaduke Pickthall. For example, when I said for the word sabaha, yazbahun, kulun fi falakini yazbahun. Bon, what is the translation of Marmaduke Pickthall? I have controlled it before this lecture. Marmaduke Pickthall, they float, because a derivative meaning of sabaha is to swim in water. And they say float for the celestial formation. Maybe this is poetic, but it is not the expression of the primitive meaning of the word, which is to move with one's own motion. For example, Marmaduke Pickthall translate kinds instead of element of couples, kinds, azwaj, kinds. It is not, it's a bad translation from a scientific point of view. That doesn't matter at all for the problem of the religious meaning of the Quran, you imagine. But it is only from the point of view of the possibility of connection between the Quranic teachings and modern science. And in the end, cloth, Ralakani Sanamil Alak, Marmaduke Pickthall translate cloth, but man never came from a blood clot, from a clot, not at all. This is a derivative meaning. And he used it because, having not a scientific background, he was not in a position at all to imagine that this translation might be absolutely inaccurate. Excuse me, this is somewhat long, but I think it is necessary to tell you that.
The next question is, what is the association between the Quran and science?
It is, I have given the answer before the question.
And also, this is also a repetition of the very first question, Darwin's theory of evolution.
But I have a lecture to be given about the origin of man. Alors, I shall explain that in detail. About Darwin, that will be too long to explain you that now, because my explanation will not be sufficient. It's better not to give explanation which might seem to us, to you, to be somewhat light. Huh? I prefer to give an explanation in depth about the theory of Darwin during the lecture to come, inshallah.
Please. According to Surah, which you mentioned, that the origin of life is aquatic, how do we correlate this with Surah that Adam, peace be upon him, was elevated from clay,
yes,
and
yes,
represent
the beginning of human race.
human being,
Race,
yes,
not human species. I prefer not race, because I'm not a racist. You are not, of course. That doesn't matter. Well, yes, because the origin of light preceded in the animal kingdom the creation by God of the first man. That is to say, there is absolutely no contradiction between the beginning of life in animal kingdom and the creation of man by God. There is absolutely not a lack of compatibility, not at all. It's at different stages of the story of living beings. Man was created, let us say, after, let us say, 3 billion years after the beginning of life on this earth. The creation of man is extremely recent, and the beginning of life on the earth is very, very old.